Welcome back to Splendid Tales, where karma never misses and arrogance gets served in full HD. Tonight, we're diving into the Sapphire Gala, the kind of event where money sparkles brighter than manners. Crystal glasses, golden chandeliers, and people who think poverty is a rumor. Winston Hale stood quietly near the champagne tower, dressed in a black suit that whispered wealth but spoke humility. He wasn't loud. He didn't need to be. But to Claudia Penrose, that silence was a blank check for disrespect. She strutted toward him, red wine in hand, diamonds screaming louder than her decency. "Oh dear," she smirked. "You blend in so well with the staff. Tell me, do they let everyone in these days?" Before Winston could respond, she tilted her wrist. Splash. Scarlet liquid drenched his lapel. The crowd gasped, then laughed. Even her husband Richard chuckled without looking up from his phone, busy bragging about his billion-dollar contract with Hale Industries. Cameras clicked. Champagne fizzed. Winston simply smiled, slow and deliberate, like a man watching someone write their own obituary in cursive. "Wine washes off," he murmured. "Arrogance doesn't." Claudia rolled her eyes. "Well, you should have worn red. It hides the stains." Oh, the irony waiting in the wings had no mercy. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Splendid Tales. The laughter at that table could have curdled milk. One influencer even whispered, "He's so calm. Maybe he's used to being spilled on." Phones came out like weapons, every angle, every drop of wine, captured for later ridicule. Winston didn't flinch. He just patted the napkin against his jacket, nodded at the waiter, and continued eating as if humiliation was a flavor he'd mastered. Claudia leaned back, swirling her glass like a villain auditioning for a soap opera. "You know, darling," she told Richard loudly, "they should really have a separate section for the help. Makes it less confusing for the rest of us." Her friends giggled behind manicured hands. A nearby guest whispered, "Is she serious?" "Oh, she's rich, serious," someone replied. Moments later, the host grabbed the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest of honor, a man who redefines success, the CEO of Hale Industries." The room erupted in applause. Claudia clapped lazily. Finally, someone important. Then the spotlight shifted onto the man in the stained suit. The air turned electric. Laughter died mid-throat. Winston adjusted his tie, smiled, and strolled to the podium like royalty reclaiming his throne. Claudia's face fell faster than her social stock. Richard's glass slipped, shattering on the marble floor. "Ah," Winston said softly, "I see I've made quite the splash tonight." Viewers, tell me in the comments, what would you do if you saw this happen live? The room stayed frozen, like everyone had just seen Karma walk in wearing designer shoes. Winston smiled politely at the applause, the same calm expression still sitting on his face as if nothing had happened. Claudia blinked rapidly, her brain buffering like bad Wi-Fi. Richard tried to stand, but his legs disagreed. The man looked like a statue trying to remember how knees worked. Winston began his speech, voice deep and steady. "Tonight, I was reminded how easily some people confuse kindness with weakness." His gaze swept the crowd, landing briefly, just briefly on Claudia. "But life has a funny way of keeping receipts." The audience chuckled nervously. Claudia's glass hand trembled. Now, here's the thing nobody knew. Winston Hale's rise was the kind of story that made documentaries look lazy. He'd started as a janitor in the same skyscraper his company now owned. He'd scrubbed floors, emptied trash, and learned how the powerful talked when they thought the powerless were invisible. And he'd remembered every word. He built Hale Industries from a single rented office and one old laptop. He never flaunted his money, never bragged. His focus was empire, not ego. So when Claudia poured that wine, she didn't just stain a suit, she spilled on the hands that signed her husband's billion-dollar contract. And the audience had no idea that the next 24 hours would turn the Penrose empire into history. Viewers, would you forgive her or let karma finish the job? By sunrise, the Sapphire Gala wasn't trending for its diamonds. It was trending for the poor heard around the world. 10 million views, 500,000 comments, and one unforgettable caption. "She spilled wine on a billionaire. Now watch what he spills next." Claudia's PR team tried to spin it. A misunderstanding, too much wine, she thought he was staff. But the internet didn't buy excuses. It bought popcorn. By noon, 3 investors pulled out from Penrose Construction. By sunset, the stock dropped harder than Claudia's dignity. By midnight, Richard's phone was buzzing nonstop with apologies that didn't matter. One message stood out from Hale Industries' legal team: contract terminated. Claudia went live, teary eyed, claiming she didn't mean it. But midway through, her ring light went off. Someone commented, even electricity's done with her. The clip went viral again. The internet is undefeated. Meanwhile, Winston donated $10 million to fund scholarships for underprivileged students in the Penrose name. His post read, "For those who spill and those who rebuild." The crowd called it poetry. The internet called it justice. Winston called it just another Tuesday. Weeks later, the Penroses were selling jewelry to pay legal fees. The same tabloids that once adored them now wrote headlines like, "From Gala to Garage Sale." Never mistake silence for weakness, nor humility for insignificance, because sometimes the man you humiliate at a gala owns the gala. If you love this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Splendid Tales, where karma always comes dressed in style.